Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the XFFL Show. I am your host, Josh Mitchell, also known as Daddy T, also known as the owner, captain, and head coach of the New England Nexus. As tradition on the show, we're going to start off with a recap of what happened during the week in the XFFL and, of course, the NFL too. Move on to our special guest, which just happened to be the guest from last week, a first two-time repeater. Shocker, because he's also the only two-time XFFL champion, Jeff Bell. And then, of course, we'll end with what's going to happen in this week 7 of the XFFL season. Unbelievable. But again, as I said, we always start with this, a recap of what has happened for week 6 of the XFFL. And let's kind of unfortunately get right to it. And when I mean unfortunately for my team. New England Nexus fall to the Alpine Extreme 134.88 to 99.40. For my team, Justin Herbert threw up a duck. Mike Evans, another duck. McLaurin, a duck. Chase Claypool, major duck. You won't be seeing the field anytime soon. On the other side of things, Lamar Jackson, 13 points, just got the job done. Total Thielen, 29.8 points. Pretty good. Herbert, a guy that I just picked up, I believe it was either that day or the day before. Khalil Herbert, almost 20 points. Very good pickup. As we said last week, a waiver wire winner. As a candidate for a waiver wire play of the week. Mark Andrews, 17 points. Matt Prater, 15. It's been pretty solid this year for the Cardinals and of course, the Alpine Extreme as well. Next matchup. Number 1 seed stays the number 1 seed. The North Carolina Carpetbaggers defeat the Cleveland Clowns in an almost close one, 138.10 to 125.96. Aaron Rodgers, 23 points. Najee Harris, 24 points, has been a perfect first overall pick for the Carpetbaggers. Noah Fant, 24 points. Very, very nice. On the other side of things, Kyler Murray, 25 points. Tyreek Hill, 22.6 points. Just wasn't enough. David Njoku looks like the guy that kind of screwed the Cleveland Clowns over. Only 1.6 points on the day after coming from the previous week where he had 27. So I can't blame him for starting him. But I can blame David Njoku for just doing a pretty bad job. Next matchup. The New York Potato Skins defeat the Riverhead Blue Waves 158.68 to 126.88. Tom Brady, nearly 20 points. Jonathan Taylor, think he's a must play every week now. 28.8 points. It's about time he's finally embraced the role as lead back. His first few weeks, not so great, but his last 3, pretty darn good. DeAndre Swift, 17 points. Darrell Henderson, 24 points. Just stacked completely. Other side of things, Sam Darnold, clearly something's up with him. I don't know what, but he's not like the Sam Darnold that we saw for the first 3 games of the year. Devontae Adams, 12 points. What's up with that? Keenan Allen, only 10. Derrick Henry, though, did carry the load. Again, 35.6 points. Dalvin Cook actually played. Oh, what a surprise. 22 on the day. Dawson Knox just didn't get it done for him. Only 7.5. I mean, Dawson Knox 3 weeks ago getting 7.5. Totally acceptable. Dawson Knox getting 7.5 now. Got to do better. He's on the bye this week, so it's going to be interesting to see what he does with that tight end position. Next matchup, the Malone Mutiny fall to 0-6 against the Charlotte Woo Outlaws, 130.12 to 108.30. Josh Allen, almost 30 points. Cooper Kupp, again, this man is just dominant. 130 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, 9 catches for 34 points even. Incredible. Looking at his other wide receivers, T. Higgins did nothing. Julio Jones did nothing. So maybe that's a little cause for concern. I don't know. But if you're getting Cooper Kupp to get you 34, I wouldn't complain. Jacobs did well, too. And Mike Gesicki, 115 yards. Pretty good. On the other side of things, there's always that what if when it comes to the Malone Mutiny. And that what if, his name is Jalen Waddle. 29 points on the bench. In favor, he chose Devontae Smith. 5 points. there's a swing there. Again, there's always those what ifs. There's also that what if of not playing Cameron Brate and playing literally any other tight end. I'm so sorry, Chris. You're going against me this week, so I wish you the best of luck. Man, we're going to get you that win. There's going to be a win in there somewhere. Moving on to our final matchup. The Big Bend Blackbeards continue their rule. 159.10 to Rochester's Revenge, 99.28. Do I have to tell you who did well again? Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel Elliott. This time it was CeeDee Lamb actually outperforming everyone, 36.1 points. Obviously, that late 40-yard touchdown did boost up those stats, but hey, that's all that matters. Travis Kelce, 17 points on the day. Pretty solid. Darrell Williams for the Chiefs had 23.9, so a very good pickup there. Another waiver wire winner. And DK Metcalf, only 11 on the day, but again, it's nothing to be like upset about when, again, your number one receiver is getting you 36 points, your tight end's giving you 17, 18 points, and literally your waiver wire running back is getting you almost 24. On the other side of things, Patrick Mahomes is doing decent. Team is but he's doing decent. Tyler Lockett, big bust that week. Stephon Diggs, not so much, 23 points on the day. James Conner was a bust. Jamal Williams, I don't know what he's doing. Still sticking with Jamal Williams. Don't worry, I respect you, Scott. But what are you doing with Jamal Williams in that starting spot? Justin Jefferson, 14 points, and Darren Waller is kind of bad, like a peaks and valleys kind of year. He has 26 points one week, and then 10 to 15. Excuse me, looking at it, he had 26 points in week 1, and everything else has been 11 to 15. So it's like, what are you going to do? Again, I mentioned this last week with Darren Waller. Should probably shut up. I have 3 tight ends on my team, 2 of which are on IR, so I can't really speak to that whatsoever. But we're not here to talk about the Rochester Revenge. We're here to talk about the Big Bend Blackbeards, 2-time XFFL champion, and now 2-time special guest for the XFFL show, the one and only America, Jeff Bell. Jeff, how's it going?
What's going on, Josh? I'm doing well. I can't complain right now in the wide world of sports. Sox are doing well. Cowboys got a huge win on the road in New England for the first time since 1987. It's all coming up roses, brother. And the fantasy football team is coming together in second place. It's glorious.
Let's, again, talk about that victory. I mean, nearly a 60-point win. All right there. Again, Cowboy. Did you expect all 3 of them to go that high?
You know what? I'll be serious for a second. Anytime you have an overtime matchup, it's always going to inflate some stats, especially when you're talking about key contributors of the offense. I mean, sometimes it doesn't happen if a team goes immediately down the field and scores a touchdown, you never touch it. But if you got a team that's feeling it like Dallas was this past Sunday against the Patriots, I mean, they were moving the ball up and down the field. There was only a couple times that the Patriots defense was able to confuse them enough to get them off the field. But like I really genuinely felt like they had a good handle on that game, and they could add more points, Josh. Like, I'm not trying to be greedy, but you look at that goal to go situation, and Dak had the same situation he did in that Sunday night game against Philadelphia, where he's probably in, but you don't see where the ball is. So you can't count that. And then the next play, he tries to jump over the top, and it gets swatted away by Bentley, a talented linebacker for the Patriots. And you just can't give up those kind of turnovers in the red zone. And then CeeDee Lamb is able to break out later in the game. Zeke is able to contribute. He's not going to be a boom or bust guy in the PPR standings, and he really didn't put up a mega week this week in terms of ground game, but just did just enough to outperform Scott's running backs. And you talked about it with Darrell Williams with a waiver wire pickup. He was able to come in and get me 21 points after I dropped Chuba Hubbard. Looked like an idiot. Really thought that McCaffrey was going to be back this week. They thought he was going to be back the week before against the Eagles. And I guess I was reading the tea leaves a little bit wrong. But it genuinely has really been interesting how the lifeblood of this team. I mean, three guys that again, they're on my team, so I love them. But how they've been able to drive this football team, it's really been fun to watch.
Now, I love how you segued. They're on a bye. In the words of Hulk Hogan, what you gonna do, brother?
So again, as I alluded to last week, this team is going to look different when it comes down to revving it up for those matchups. You're going to see a little bit of movement. You might see Kyle Pitts in the starting lineup this week in the flex spot. I got Henry Ruggs in there right now against the Eagles' soft secondary, but kind of hard to really trust that. Pitts had that breakout game in London. We all saw it. So you might see Kyle Pitts against the Dolphins. Currently looking at some options at that second running back position because I'm going to ride with Darrell Williams again for the Chiefs because he's the last man standing. But there's going to be some changes made. I don't know if I'm going to trust Joe Burrow in his matchup. All I can say is there's going to be a lot of changes, and you always hope that you can ride out the bye weeks because that's always going to be the pivotal point, whether you make the playoffs or you're sitting on the outside looking in.
Now, kind of breaking down the matchup, you're going against number one team. You've kind of clawed yourself out of the early hole of this beginning of the year, and now you're 4-2, just one game back. Again, he still has people on the bye as well. Obviously, some positions need to be kind of filled out, but out of your team, is there kind of that one or like two guys that you can say, you know what, I feel confident with them and I don't have to worry?
For me, it's Travis Kelce. I mean, you kind of look at his weeks the last couple of weeks. I think they're kind of outlier weeks, really, just because it seems like the sky is falling in Kansas City. It really does. But like no matter when you look back, Kelce is a trusted receiver of Mahomes. He's going to get Kelce the ball, especially in those goal line situations. He trusts him as a big target. So he is going to get his numbers. That's just one of those guys. And then you look at the wide receiver core. Mike Williams had a down week, and you could chalk that up to injuries. You could chalk that up to the fact that Baltimore just clearly had a plan for him. They were not going to let him beat them. But I think he's going to have a bounce back this week. So those are two guys that I am putting in my lineup that I have no question that they're going to perform.
Now, let's kind of shift gears a little bit, segue out of fantasy football. It's Browns versus Broncos this week. And do you know what jersey I'm wearing?
That is Charlie Fry, is it not?
That is Charlie Fry, the first ever joke jersey I purchased inside of Derek's Banks Hall room. What is your favorite joke jersey that you personally own?
Oh, without a doubt, it's Jay Fiedler Dolphins. And the reason why is because I went on eBay and somebody didn't know what they had because it was barely worn. It was the right size. And literally I bid on it for I think it was like $4.99. I bid on it and it was like $1 shipping. It was the easiest decision in the world.
You have Jamarcus Russell, right?
I do. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Now
he's fun, but you know what? The thing is that anybody's going to cringe with that jersey. With Jay Fiedler, you should see the look on the Dolphins fans' faces. They want to puke.
I mean, I think I have Culpepper. You have Fiedler. Who does Derek have?
Pat White, baby.
That's right. In my mind, I keep thinking Cleo Lemon, when like Pat White's an even better. Again, I'm gonna call it right here. I'm gonna give you the floor. You don't have to be nice this time. You can say some fighting words when it comes to Zach. Zach's a great guy. But if you want to say anything.
You know what? Again, it's just I keep going back to it. It's just it's so much fun in this league that we're able to play against a bunch of guys that are competitive. They love their teams. And they love the players on their teams. And again, they're just so invested in each and every matchup. Like nobody is looking at this with a blind eye and just glossing over it. I might be a little bit more confident if I didn't have so many buys this week. But it's going to be a great matchup. Again, it's been a weird year just with the stacking of teams that we've had, and you see that in the records. And like you have a couple of weeks where you get a couple of matchups, give or take here and there, that you might be in first place. But it just goes to show that you got to keep grinding. You got to keep trusting your not only your guys, your core starters that you drafted, but those waiver wire pickups. Again, dropping Chuba Hubbard and then losing him immediately after to guys that are just watching, not just guys that are paying attention, but guys that are interested and understand that there are guys that are dropped that can make an immediate impact on your team. And same goes for Darrell Williams. Again, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is out. It made the perfect situation. Kansas City's kind of finicky with their running backs, but you pick him up, he gives you 21 points right off the bat, and that's the make or break between winning or losing in a matchup. But overall, in the grand scheme in a season, when you have a bunch of guys that are committed to this, they're smart, they're educated on these players, and they understand what key positions that they need to fill their rosters to make or break their season. So you got to stay on your toes. And you know what? I may be on this show for the back-to-back weeks. I was not anticipating that. Scott has a solid team. It's kind of a little bit random, as you said, with his backup running back position. But Scott's an educated football fan, and he knows these matchups and stuff like that. So I didn't take that win for granted. Again, the overtime certainly helped my guys, but at the same time, you don't expect to pull out these big wins. And I'm humbled to be on the show once again. But really, I hope I get a break. I hope the Mutiny get on the show next week, or just another team that comes out of nowhere, trusts in the process like I do, and just rolls through. Except for maybe Roll Tides. We won't talk about that. Roll Waves.
All right. Some final parting words from Mr. Jeff Skipper Bell against Zach Phillips, and I guess that's where we'll start. This matchup, the Big Bend Blackbeards versus the North Carolina Carpetbaggers, the 1 seed versus the 2 seed. Can you believe it? So he's going with Joe Burrow against Baltimore's defense. Well, guess he's not, because for some reason, the owner of the Big Bend Blackbeards, Jeff Bell, decides to drop Joe Burrow in favor of Tua Tagovailoa. Okay, so it's going to be Tua against Aaron Rodgers on the Carpetbaggers side. And originally I had this whole thing planned out, saying Joe Burrow should have a somewhat decent game. Wide receivers are not that bad. Travis Kelce, obviously a good tight end. Starting Kyle Pitts too. And on the other side of things, Carpetbaggers, their running back situation is scarce with A.J. Dillon and J.D. McKissick, but Antonio Gibson might be questionable, might not play, so that's kind of up in the air too, but their wide receivers are pretty decent. I originally had the Big Bend Blackbeards to win this game, but not anymore after that little switcheroo. I'm going with the Carpetbaggers and Zach Phillips and discount double check Aaron Rodgers. Wow, what a waiver wire winner? I don't think so. Let's move on to our next matchup, and it is a doozy. The Alpine Extreme versus the Riverhead Blue Waves. This is not a rivalry week yet, but this easily could be. Lamar Jackson versus Cincy. That should be good. Calvin Ridley versus Miami. That should be very good, but then you have to realize Atlanta is still a terrible team. Alvin Kamara versus Seattle. It should be all right, I should say. And then, again, the action connection of Jackson and Andrews. That should do well. On the other side of things, Devontae Adams versus Washington. I like that. Again, he has a lot of buys this week. Keenan Allen, Dalvin Cook, Dawson Knox, Amari Cooper. So it wasn't just Jeff that got hit with the buy bug or Zach that got hit with the buy bug. It's pretty much everybody. More so Riverhead Blue Waves, unfortunately. So it'll be interesting to see who he plugs in and plays there, but he does have a very good bench of Courtland Sutton, Antonio Brown, Myles Gaskin, so on and so forth. Again, just to that depth, I'm going with the Riverhead Blue Waves. They've kind of been on a little bit of a slump as of recently, but I still think that overall, top to bottom, even with that terrific bench, he still has the best roster on this team. When Russell Wilson comes back, it's clearly number one. Right now, he's like 2, maybe 3, just because of, Russell Wilson's out. So, but yeah, picking Blue Waves in this one. Again, sorry to Derek. All right, next matchup: Charlotte Woo Outlaws taking on the Rochester Revenge. Rochester Revenge 3-3. So are the Woo Outlaws. Patrick Mahomes versus Tennessee. Tyler Lockett versus New Orleans. James Conner and AJ Green being played for the Rochester Revenge against Houston. So that's a huge plus. But I don't know. I never can trust James Conner. I can definitely never trust AJ Green, but he's been doing solid this year. Just a couple bad games. No Justin Jefferson. Let's see what happens there. On the other side, Matt Stafford versus Detroit. Laser focus on this game. This is literally the Matt Stafford. I don't know what to call it. Literally, Matt Stafford's going to throw for like 5 million touchdowns and 5 million yards. I'm being exaggerating, but I can easily see another 404 touchdown game for Matthew Stafford. Easily. This is all about, I mean, I guess it's revenge because I guess he got what he wanted, like a better team, better situation. But it's like, I'm going to prove to you that if you kind of built the team around me in Detroit, we could have had success. Game. A lot of work. Tony Gibson versus Green Bay. That's okay. Josh Jacobs versus Philly. That's also okay. And Gesicki versus Atlanta. That's pretty good too. I don't know. I'm going to go with the Woo Outlaws on this one. Again, sole fact, Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp. That's pretty darn good because Josh Allen's on the bye. I kind of just hit me in the head. I'm like, I haven't seen Matt Stafford in the starting lineup yet. That's why. So Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, that's a dub. All right. Next matchup. Cleveland Clowns versus the New York Potato Skins. Kyler Murray versus Houston. That looks good. DJ Moore versus the Giants. That's also looking good. Tyreek Hill versus Tennessee. All right. Running back situation for the Clowns. They have Alex Collins. If Nick Chubb can be healthy and come back, we don't know. On the other side of things, Tom Brady's going against Chicago's defense. And that should be a very, very good matchup. Jonathan Taylor versus San Francisco. Sneaky good play there as well. Dale Henderson versus Detroit. That's also good. And then 2 Lions against the Rams defense. Don't really like that, to be honest. But also the Rams could slip up here and there. I'm going with the Potato Skins on this one. Tom Brady has a juicy matchup. Hopkins has a juicy matchup. Talk about revenge games. Let's hold the phone right there. DeAndre Hopkins versus the Houston Texans. Give me all the points for there too. Yeah, the way he was sent out. I mean, it's for the better because Houston's just a complete like dog poop show there. So, but yeah, I'm going with the Potato Skins in that one. And our final matchup. Me, the New England Nexus, take on Chris in the Malone Mutiny. Fortnite duo tag partners, or just, I guess, teammates, I should say. I don't know why I say tag partners. Join some wrestling organization, Chris. Looking at it, I'm starting Derek Carr versus Philadelphia. I could choose Ryan Tannehill, but I still see a better upside with Derek Carr playing. Mike Evans versus Chicago. I like it. Aaron Jones versus Washington and Fournette versus Chicago. Also like those two. Sneaky play with Chuba Hubbard versus the Giants. Apparently it's being reported that they're not going to rely on Sam Darnold as much, and it's going to be more of a 50-50 play style, which means they got to hand the ball off to somebody, and it's not Christian McCaffrey. Thank goodness. On the other side, Jalen Hurts versus the Raiders. The second week in a row where quarterbacks that I'm facing off against in the XFFL are the quarterbacks that are facing off in real life. All right, so everybody tune into that 4:00 game. That should be interesting. Jamar Chase versus Baltimore. Devontae Smith. Will he play Jalen Waddle? Who knows? At the moment, he has both of them in, so you can't be wrong with both. Cross my fingers. Yeah, and Cordell Patterson, the MVP of the Malone Mutiny. Sorry, Chris. I'm gonna pick me. But if you do win, I'll be very, very happy, but also sad because the win will come against me. But again, I'll be very ecstatic when you get your first win and you'll come on the show. I really hope it's not against me. But yeah, anyway, alrighty. Yes, so I'm gonna choose me against the Malone Mutiny, and that's gonna do it for the Week 7 preview. Thursday Night Football, Browns, not Charlie Fry, maybe Baker Mayfield, who knows? Versus Denver Broncos in Teddy Two Gloves Bridgewater. Should be pretty nice. Feel bad for Kareem Hunt, not part of the Malone Mutiny starting lineup this week or for the next couple weeks. So I definitely won that trade. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it very much. We'll see you next week. Will the Malone Mutiny be on the show? Will I be interviewing myself? Will Jeff come on the show for the third week in a row, even though he doesn't want to do it anymore? Who knows? But thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.